Okay.
Okay, perfect.
Moving on. Well, so good evening, everyone. So let me briefly, okay, close this. So, okay. So, and let me move one moment this thing somewhere else. Yeah. So basically, as you can see, the topic of my talk is how to publish in Scopus. So, you know, this important index journal that here is highly demanded in Kazakhstan to publish in a Scopus journal or Web of Science journal. And I think it might turn out to be useful for you in the end to learn more about it. But also I will add some element related to artificial intelligence tools and in which way actually they can support the research process. And okay, so here, okay, with this first slide, that is not really much for my ego, but actually is just to show you that I'm still in a relatively early phase of research, in the sense that I have around a bit more than 20 publications, something like 37 around citation, H-index 3. So I'm already, somehow taking pleasure in developing some scientific articles and publishing with certain regularity, but I'm not one researcher with thousands of citations or hundreds of publications. So I'm just an early career researcher, or at least I still consider myself as such. But nonetheless, I mean, there is something that I learned meanwhile during the process, and I would like to share with you. And so what we are going to talk about, basically, we're going to focus on 3 steps. The first one is how to choose the proper journal where to publish your article. Second one is to pay attention of 5 of the key dimensions that are highly important in order to have your article accepted. So we'll see later these are 5 of why our meeting will end in 10 minutes. Animshan, I don't know why, but he puts that our meeting will end in 10 minutes.
When you open the meeting, there is a setting that you need to adjust.
Okay. Let me see if we can. Okay. I have no idea how to do that. More control apps, more.
Tolganay, can you guide it more if you want, if it's possible, if you know?
Actually, I just remembered that it's only possible for those who have the license or something. You probably have just the user permit or something.
We have license. We have license.
Then with the license, if he enters, there shouldn't be no problem.
Okay.
So the time limit only for those who don't have license.
Because we just started, but I don't know how it's happened that we have this time limit. I'm trying to sort. Okay. Okay, so, and basically what you'll see, I mean, the important information that are mostly associated with the aims and scope of the journal, because as we'll see, you need to identify the journal that is a perfectly fit with your article, but also you have information about the editorial board, about the submission guidelines, so how you need to edit your article, and related to the, for example, the ethics and disclosure, or about fees. So if the article actually contains some fees or not that you need to pay. So I always recommend you to give a good look to the different to the Scopus database to get inside the journal that you're interested in, and then figure out what are the information that are available and which one best fit with what you need. Okay. So getting back to the slide. So Alternatively, I mean, what we can do in order to identify what journal might be good for us, well, you can make a reference to the best publication that you identified while making your research, and then check in the references where the most of the articles have been published. So, for example, here we see I just took one article by chance, but we see that there are two journals that are repeated, are kind of recurrent, and maybe we might be interested to see the condition to publish in this journal, what are their aims and scope, what are the requirements, because they seems quite relevant in the area that we are investigating. Okay. So overall, if you want to make an overall assessment, when you need to consider where to publish, of course, you have to take into account what is the topic of the journal that is covering, what is the caliber of the author who is publishing in such a journal, what is the citation score and the impact factor. There is a marginal difference between the two. Citation score take a reference to the 3-year window, and whatever citation in whatever type of document. So also for conference proceeding, editorial notes, etc. On the contrary, the impact factor takes in consideration only the last 2 years and include only what is called citable documents. So basically include only scientific articles and scientific reviews, and that's all. But anyway, there are both factors that you can consider in order to understand the value of the journal where you want to publish. And then, of course, you can consider other aspects, include the reputation and popularity of such a journal in the specific niche where you are publishing, whether it is open access or closed access. So open access means that everyone can get directly access to your article. In closed access, only those university or those people who have paid in order to have accessibility to such a journal may read your article, may read and download your article. This may also entails about what are, I mean, some consideration from an ethical perspective. So at the beginning of my career, I like a lot to publish in free open access journal, because I saw that, I mean, academic research should be available for all, doesn't matter the financial capability or the geographical location of the person. But then due to academic career, I have somehow been pushed to also consider to publish in closed access journal that are part of this of Scopus or Web of Science or similar. As well as important to consider the time required for receiving the first review, because if you are in the field of physics or even in the field of finance, you are relatively lucky in the sense that in general, in 3 months, you can get up to 3 months, you can get your review, and so you can get your publication, your article published in a relatively short period of time. In my case, that I work more on humanitarian studies, the average tempistic is over 1 year. So it's very long to receive the first review and then to see the final article get released and available for the public. So that is also an important component you need to consider. My final hint is that choose always or preselect always 2-3 journals. Don't focus just on one. I mean, keep in attention on 2 or 3 journals when you plan to develop a research article, and then only in the end prioritize them and decide where to publish, because it might be that in the end during the process your research took a different phase compared to what you plan in the early stage, or that basically you decided to focus the attention more on a certain type of analysis instead of another one. So don't just focus on one journal. Always have some other options in your mind. Now, if you're still awake, let me move to the second part, which are the 5 factors that are very important in order to get published. So they are structure, bibliographical sources, methodology, logic and coherence of the argumentations, and scientific writing style. structure. So overall, a lot of journals in Scopus now require to follow a well-specific structure in order to get a publication there. It's not always like the one I put in this slide, but most of the time what they ask you to provide is an introduction, a section with material and methods, a section with literature review and theoretical basis, a section with results and discussion, a conclusion, and bibliography. Now, there could be some minor differences, but overall, this is the general structure required by a significant number of articles and journals nowadays available on Scopus. And I mean, the origin of this structure is in a scientific publication coming from science. I mean, this is was somehow the common structure used for article of physics, of medical studies, of chemistry, and so on. But at a certain moment, this structure has become quite popular also among more social science journals and humanitarian studies journals. So it's quite plausible that you will meet such requirements when you will decide to publish in Scopus journal. And yet there are other journals that allow you to be more flexible, so to propose a more open structure, but anyway, keep into account that even in such situation, first, your article will still have to follow a logical storyline, so there should be a cohesive and logic development of the information that you provide within your article, starting from a research problem till the identification of a final solution, limits, and what has to be done next. And anyway, in any scientific article, you need to include an introduction to the problem and its relevance, a study of the former literature, because we don't want to reinvent the wheel again and again. I mean, the idea is that we develop something new on the basis of what is already known and acknowledged in academia. Third, an overview of the available theories, a statement of the scientific methodology that you use to collect the data and analyze them, as well as how basically your new discovery enhance the knowledge, the scientific knowledge that we have about the problem they are considering, and or offer practical recommendation to solve the problem you address at the beginning, if this problem has a practical application. And last but not least, you need to answer the famous "so what" question. So you have a fantastic research about your topic, you have developed everything, you conducted different studies, qualitative, quantitative, whatever you want. So what? What is the key final consideration that you can say and that make your article worthy to be read? You need to provide such statement in the end at certain moment. Now, the second element that is very important is the use of bibliographical resources. And of course, the requirements that you make use of the most relevant and updated bibliographical resources, mainly books and scientific articles. Now, I'm still old style and still make most of my bibliographical research in person. And I still believe this is the best way to collect the best resources, identify them, and get a good knowledge of the topic that you're exploring. But this process has a problem. I mean, it's fantastic, I adore it, but the problem is that it's highly time consuming. So it requires quite a lot of time to identify good sources, read them, check them. I mean, in the libraries, on the internet, and so on. But nowadays, we have some tools of artificial intelligence that can support such process of research aim to identify valuable bibliographical sources and can definitely speed it up. And I want to briefly show you two of them. One is called Elicit and one is called Research Rabbit. So let me again shift one moment. So what about Elicit? It's elicit.com. So basically, if you open the website, I mean, you need to register, but it's for free. So nothing peculiar. It asks you to write down a research question. For example, okay, I'm interested to know the state of financial investment in Kazakhstan. Okay, you can put as a question mark, you can put as a sentence, doesn't matter. And then you press. So what this program is gonna do? Okay, if my internet will work properly. Today I have some issues. Well, let me start to tell you meanwhile. So what this program is going to do is to try to identify a series of papers associated to your topics, actually up to 100 papers, and to define who is the author, where they have been published, and and propose a brief abstract of such articles. Let me write it again. That I think we have here. Okay. Investment. Okay. So for example, here at the top, you see there is a summary of the 4 top papers that the artificial intelligence identified as useful in relation to the input, to the keywords that you use in your research. And fantastic. So these 4. But there is more. If you see here, you have a list of sources. Okay. So the oil and gas industry in Kazakhstan, investment regime. There is the author. There is the number of citations it got, publication. If we'll press inside, we'll get even more information. And here on the right part, you see the abstract summary. So for example, here say the change in investment regime reduced initial guarantees on foreign investment. And so on and so on. And you can make this for over 100 of sources. I mean, we can go on and go on. Okay, entrepreneurship and investment environment is the Central Asian transition country, case Kazakhstan, and so on. So what's the point? The point is that, of course, you can get the same sources by conducting an individual research by your own. I mean, searching different libraries, a database, and so on. But here, you collect 100 relevant sources, or the reference to relevant sources, in one click. So I tried to make a test, and so I conducted a study, a research study by my own, doing my traditional research process, and identified good resources, but it took me almost 1 month to collect the amount of bibliographical resources that I wanted. And then I tried to do it the same with Elicit. Now, I still believe that my personal research was better than the one provided by Elicit. And yet, through this program, I identified some sources that were relevant, but I didn't find by my own. And the second difference is that, yeah, I spent 1 month to do my research. With this program is 1 click of 1 second. Then, of course, you have here the list, you check, you give a look, you check the abstract, and then you decide whether the source is relevant or not. But it's a fantastic standpoint. Okay, so here you see even an extended abstract if you click on the source. Okay, so if the source is open access, actually in some cases provide directly the PDF file to be downloaded. So I believe that this is a really important turning point in research. The other program that I would like to show you is Research Rabbit. So at the beginning, when you enter, again, you need to subscribe or be subscribed. They ask you to add the paper that for you is very important in your research. So in this case, for commodity, I already added my one paper that I wrote, but let's suppose that is just a random paper, okay? And it's called The Fate of Statue of Stalin in Post-Soviet Countries, Some Critical Reflection on the Management of Contested Cultural Heritage. Now, the good point is that once this paper is uploaded, here in one click, you can see all the different references and the different authors and how they are connected. And for example, I see that this author seems quite interesting and seems quoted by different other authors, as well as Bashin, Baskosi, and other, and I can click on him. And then I can see from his publication, all the citation of such publication or references in such publication, as well as in certain similar work. Now, the option similar work still doesn't work so well in my perception. I mean, it's still too chaotic. But I mean, you can get there, click there, and then click all other references. And here again, you see the different authors and different publication. That's fantastic. I mean, just uploading one document, one article that is highly relevant for you, you can get access to a lot of thousands of other information that might be relevant for your research. So, for example, there is this author, Finn Liaison, that I didn't consider, but he might have important article. So, Ideology, Discourse, and Nationalism. Why not? This actually might be relevant, and I didn't make reference to him. So, because I missed out. Or you can have information about the other publication here, and so on. So, technically speaking, I just started to use this program, but just imagine you upload the document, and from them you have as a chain, a whole set of information of X amount of other documents, X amount of other authors that somehow are related to this article, or somehow, or writing in the same research area.
So in order to use this tool, we should first write down our article, yeah? We should have
not necessarily your article. Suppose that you're making a research about I don't know, artificial intelligence.
Like a draft is okay.
No, but for example, you're making an article on artificial intelligence education. While writing down, you identified one good article of Professor Alim Shan. You upload the article here. I'm not necessarily to upload. You can put just the link to the article where actually you can get access to such publication. Okay, so I show you add paper. You see, you can put title, DOI, PMD, keywords. You put your article here, and then you proceed search. So it's not your publication, but it's a publication that for you is very important. And after that, amazing, you'll get access to a lot of information. So, of course, also this reduces incredibly the amount of time you need to spend in order to find, identify good references and good publication. So I just started to use it, but I believe that in the next future, I'll use it much more. Okay, let me get back to the presentation. Okay, here we go. One last note about sources. I mean, there are some journals that requires you to collect primary data in order to be published there. Primary data collected by service, interviews, observation, focus group, whatever you want. I mean, that's why it's important to check in advance and well what are the requirements of the journal. In that case, then you will collect your primary data by your own. Third element or third factor that is very important to get published is the methodology. So in order to have a publication in Scopus and Web of Science, you need to provide a quite well-developed descriptions of the methods you use to collect and analyze data. Now, if you see the Kekeson journal, the one sponsored by Minister of Education of Kazakhstan, in general, the methodological description is one paragraph. Forget about that if you want to publish in Scopus. They want much more. They want to have a clear understanding if your methodology was scientific and proper and valuable for the research question that you're analyzing or not. So it should be very well developed, clear, and logic. My only recommendations I have for you here is when you read other articles, take in consideration the methodology used by other authors and see how they describe them, because that will be very important for you to identify the proper way or a good approach about how to logically and clearly describe your methodology. In case, let's say that you have too many sources and you have really not so much time to read all articles every time. I hope it's not that the case, but anyway, we might have some strict deadline. So there is now another artificial intelligence tool that you can use in order to directly ask questions to PDF file. So this artificial intelligence tool is called Ask Your PDF, and I'm going to show you slightly how does it work. So here we go. Okay, research bar rabbits is closed. Okay, here, Ask Your PDF. I didn't sign up. I just discovered quite recently this program. But you see here, even if you didn't sign up or you don't have your account, you can anyway start for free. So upload the document. Okay, let's upload the document. Okay, upload the document, click download. Okay, here we go. Okay, let me just find one document by chance. Okay, let's say I'm doing research here. So internal research, okay. Proposal, bibliography. Okay, okay, let's say Brady. Okay. Okay, so after you're there, it opens you a kind of chatbot. Okay, I'm the chatbot. Please, you can ask me question about the file that you just upload. Here he recommends you some question that you can ask. But let's say, okay, we are interested to know about the methodology used in the publication. So, what is the methodology used by the author in this study? So we just post a question like that. Let me move a bit this, that is not comfortable. Okay. Here. And here we have an answer. So the authors of this study used the mixed methods approach. They collected data through a review and comparative analysis of legislation and policy documents, as well as through interview with policy professionals, NGO leaders, and frontline practitioners. So they also conducted focus group with young people, age, and so on and so on and so on. So with 1 minute, in 1 minute, without reading the paper, you can ask information about that are relevant for you. So in this case, then you will just read here a short sum up of the methodology used. If it's valuable for you, you might get then to give a look at the paper. Here there are even specific references about the description of the source and different pages and so on. And of course, saves a lot of time. I mean, it's fantastic. I mean, you can ask for about the methodology. You can ask about what are the main conclusions. I don't know, I'm just making by chance now the questions, okay? And here you see schematically the main conclusion provided by the provided in such an article. One can say, yes, I mean, but somehow I can get the same information by reading it. And you're right. It's fantastic. I mean, and I still prefer to read, to be honest. But this cuts the times incredibly and allow you to reuse such time to check multiple sources. So, yeah, or to check sources just for a specific area of inquiry. So you're interested just about the methodology, make the question just about the methodology. You're interested in just to consider the conclusion, just make a question about conclusion. About the collected data, do that. So again, actually can really, I believe it can be very useful for speeding up the research process. Okay, let me get back here.
So we can ask any question, yes?
You
Alberto,
can any question that is related to such article. Actually, it's not just article. I mean, it can be a report as well. I don't know what is the limit in terms of pages or dimension of the file, but up to now, I just tried with articles and it works pretty well. It provides an answer, and beyond the answer, what I like is provide specific reference in the text, saying I'm answer like this because this, and this. So
if it's a financial analysis, he can download 200 pages report. Instead of going through all, he can just get the key points. That's it.
Exactly. I mean, that's the point. I mean, I don't know if now the version can, I mean, it's just for, I don't know, a limited amount of pages or not. This, honestly, I don't know. But, I mean, this is something that actually was launched less than probably 6 months ago. I mean, we wait another few months, probably you can have an entire book analyzed and scrutinized in a few minutes for you without the need to spend time to completely read it. If you're interested, for example, on just addressing, as you say, the financial analysis of the data collected in such report or publication. So, I mean, something that needs to be considered at least. Okay, just 2 more points. One, of course, when you provide some answer to your research question, you need to be sure that each single statement will be supported by logical arguments that in turn must be supported by evidence and data. This is particularly important when you want to publish in British journal. They will check every single sentence and they will check if there is a coherence and logical consequence between the previous sentence and the forward one, then the next one. So you need to be really careful on every single statement you're going to make in your paper. If you're not sure 100%, write it down, report it, make it clear, change the verbs, put it seems instead of it is. But pay a lot of attention on each single statement that you're working there, because reviewers will bother you a lot if your statements will not be supported by valid and logic arguments, and in turn, if you will not provide evidence, data, and references to support your arguments. So pay a lot of attention on that. And one mistake in general I do is that I tend to analyze too many research questions in the single article because I'm interested. I mean, I see something and then I start to know more and I want to analyze too many things all together. My suggestion for you is don't do it. Don't do the same mistake. I mean, keep it simple and work on one issue per article, because in more than one occasion I receive as comment by reviewers that I was working on material that actually could be analyzed or could be considered for 2 different publications. So to simplify the aspect. So stay focused at one issue per article, no more. And with that, here we get to the last point of the 5 parameters that are very important when you want to publish your article, which is the scientific writing style. Now, the reason number 1 for getting a paper rejected, especially for as the paper has been written by non-native English-speaking researcher, is a poor academic writing style. Unfortunately, that's a big problem. But we can have some support nowadays. So there is a program actually called Grammarly, which is a free writing artificial intelligence assistant that will check the words you use and the grammar in your text. You can download the application, so actually it will operate directly with your Word file, so it will correct, and is much, much better than the Word automatic correction program. So Grammarly works much better. But you can also use it online. I'm going to show you just in a few minutes how to do that. Second tool second recommendation I have for you is the use short sentence with active verbs. This is highly demanded in a scientific publication. But the second tool I want to show is called Killbot. What is about? So sometimes we know what we want to say, but we are not able to write it well. So we have the idea, but we cannot find the right words to write it well. If you are facing something like that, Killbot can help you, because it's a tool that helps you to paraphrase sentences somehow to sound more academic or to look better. I will show you this tool in a moment. Final consideration, don't abuse of direct quotations. I love them, but use direct quotation only where they are absolutely needed. Otherwise, paraphrase the concept of other and then give the proper reference from where you collected the information. And finally, it's very important if you ask someone else to read your paper, because in general, we work for many days or months actually months, not days, on the same paper, and at a certain moment we don't see anymore what is not clear. We cannot understand if there are mistakes or not, because we read it every day and we just got used to that. So if someone else will read it for you, that will be a great help. We'll certainly discover something that you didn't notice. But let me show you one moment Grammarly and Killbot. So, okay, 1 second. Here we go. So here is Grammarly. Okay, there are different sections. Actually, also Grammarly can work like Killbot for paraphrase, but I still believe Killbot is better up to now. Here is about grammar checking. So let's see that I will write a stupid sentence like, I am noting. Let's maybe put I knew nothing, but I like to say main. Okay. So, as you can see, my sentences were completely wrong, okay, full of mistakes. But the program identified everything. Here they put Synapse to keep going is for free. You can see now, I didn't sign up because I have the app, honestly. But my point is that it will correct all mistakes that you made in the sentence. And it works pretty well. So if you want a program that will check your grammar well, download the app of Grammarly. About Killbot. Okay, let me write a sentence here. So I do not know really what to write, but the idea is to show how this AI program works. Okay, it's a terrible sentence, but let's say that this is the idea, but it's too flat. The sentence is not so good. So let's paraphrase it. So here, for example, he proposed the goal is to demonstrate how this AI program functions, but I'm not sure exactly what to write. It turns, maybe it sounds even a bit better. If we are not satisfied, we can change some words. So we can put my objective, okay, more personalized. Is not to demonstrate, but like another word, is to show. And so on. Now here I put a really simple sentence of one line. But suppose you are spending a lot of time writing again and again the same sentence on your article, and you're never satisfied. Solve the matter. Come here, paraphrase. You can reparaphrase, you can make it in standard, you can make fluence, you can keep the synonym more accurate or less accurate. And this is the free version. So actually this you don't need to you don't need to pay, you don't need to do anything, you just have to sign up with Google, and that's fantastic. Actually, you will be able to reparaphrase your own sentence to make them sound much better and eventually to intervene. Honestly, I'm using this program quite frequently right now. Even when I write, for example, an idea about an email, I put down an idea about the email, I reparaphrase, and I check how it will write me back, and I see whether I like it more or not. Then eventually you make individual changes if you want. Okay, so let me get back now to presentation. Okay. Yeah, we can. And if you are not sleeping well and you're still up with me, let's move to the last point and explain a bit the process, what is happening once you send an article to get published. So, first of all, let's assume that you are in a situation where you identify the proper journal, you have the article ready, and then you want to proceed by publishing it. And so you send to the journal. Before doing that, it's important that you check that your article suits well with the format, style, and voice of the journal you have chosen. So check the okay. Yeah, so this one already. So you need also to understand how to send the application. If there are deadlines, if there are fees, this will be everything available in the journal website. And in general, you'll have to pass an online submission procedure in which they will ask a series of information, including your name, email address, the topic of your studies. In general, they want to know an abstract. So a sum up of your research between 200, most of the time between 200 to 300 words, could be shorter, could be longer. But in general, what you have to include there is the research problem, the relevance of the problem they are considering, the methodology that you're using in your study, and the main results of your analysis. Some keywords that are some selection of words that will allow other researchers to identify your paper as relevant for the topic they are considering, as well as a couple of other information. But what I want to show more is this slide. So what is going to happen? So as soon as you submit your article, basically there will be the editor's check. So the editors, what will do, will give a rapid look at your article and will define whether this article relevant to my journal or not. If the editors believe that your article is not relevant to the aims and scope of the journal, he or she will immediately reject it. On the contrary, if actually he or she will believe that your article might be interesting, considering the topic, methodology, and so on, it will move on and will basically pass, at least in most of the cases. We have some exception, but let me consider what is in the general practice. It will pass a double-blind peer review process. What does it mean? It means that there will be two researchers from whatever part of the world who are experts in the area, in the topic that you're considering your publication in your article, that they will read your article and make comments on it, but without knowing who sent it. So they will have no clue about who is the author and where he or she works and other personal information. So they will get just the text of the article and will analyze it with the maximum objectivity as possible, let's say. After the double-blind peer review process, you might get different types of answer. The first one is they didn't like it, so your article got rejected. You need to find another journal or change it or modify your article, but you cannot publish there. The second option is that your article is so fantastic that is immediately accepted. Now, this is a kind of rare phenomenon. Really rarely it happens. Most of the time, what you receive is a request of minor or major changes. So minor change means that your article is good for the reviewers, but still they see that there are some minor elements that need to be changed. Could be better academic writing style, could be to develop one section, could be to add more information about the methodology. But overall, there are just some tiny adjustments to be made. Differently, you might also be requested to introduce major changes. So, for example, one researcher might tell you you didn't consider enough the historical development of your topic. Add new sections associated to that, or your conclusions are too generic. You need to have much more specific consideration. So please develop them considering alternative bibliographical resources. So my recommendation is, and of course, when you receive such a response, you have a choice. You can choose to refuse such changes, but in that case, basically, you will not publish in such a journal. Or you might decide to accept such recommendations and to work on them. What I might say is that if you receive a minor minor changes, work on them. I mean, it means they already like your article and you have high chance to get published in the end. So it's good. It's something good and something that you can manage. If you receive a request of major changes, well, think about that. You might be willing to intervene on that sometimes, but in other cases, actually, you might decide that maybe there are other journals that might be better for your publication. I mean, make your own critical reflections. If you decide to proceed, then there will be a second blind peer review process. And one critical note is that not necessarily the same people who passed the first double blind peer review process will also be responsible for the second blind peer review process. There might be actually different people. And of course, this might be complicated, especially if you have an interdisciplinary study, because maybe one reviewer was at first an historian, asked you to develop a bit more the historical part. In the second double blind peer review process, one of the reviewer is, I don't know, an expert of international relations, and he or she will say, you spend too much time on the historical consideration, not enough on the IR perspective, please develop it more. So there is always this risk, but as I said at the beginning, the process of academic publication is far from being perfect. Also, it follows certain kind of standards, and that is important. Anyway, after the second double blind peer review process, two options. Most of the time, one, your article is rejected, or second option, your article is accepted. If your article is accepted, you can almost start to celebrate, but not yet, because still you'll need to pass the editing process. So everything should be changed or modified so that the article will be completely edited according to the journal standards. In particular, in this case, I make reference to the quality of the images, as well as how you are citing the bibliographical resources. But let's say that you pass also the editing process, and then you'll have to wait till finally, congratulations, your article has been published, and now it's time to celebrate. But again, then you'll have to wait a quite certain period of time before your article will get perhaps one day citation, so that other researchers in your area will see, read it, and start to cite it as a relevant scientific publication. So my last slide here, there are some websites where you can have a good recommendation about how to conduct a research for preparing a scientific article. So two websites, and there are different models. They are freely available, and there are several information, including the exercise, some readings, some videos. So if you are interested, please check them. The third one actually is a project, a student's project that I'm tutoring, and is developed by Almaty Management University in cooperation with Lehigh University. And so is basically we open a group in LinkedIn called the Central Asian Researchers Network. And what we do there is basically we provide some information about how to publish, for example, how to conduct a proper literature review, how to make a different type of sampling for a statistical analysis, etc. So there are small presentation about that. We publish interview with young and experienced researchers to see what move to work in academia, what are their knowledge about research, what kind of recommendation they could provide, as well as we are trying, but we need to do more to promote events that are happening here in Kazakhstan or in other part of Central Asia. So if interesting, just give a look at that. But for what concerns me, I just finished, and I will be glad to answer your question if you have any. I actually just see one question here. Can you send simultaneously your article to several journals for readers check? No, the answer is not. This is considered as an ethical violation. You can send just to one journal, and if the journal will reject it, then you can send your publication to other journals, but you cannot send it simultaneously to multiple journals. I know this, I make everything longer and a waste of time, but it's considered as an ethical, as a violation of the ethical code of academic researcher to send the publication in multiple journals. The risk is that they will put you in the blacklist, so don't do it. Now, let me stop sharing, so maybe I can, like here. If you have any questions, please, I will be glad to answer them.
You showed us the website, the Scopus, to find the journals.
Yeah.
And you mentioned the impact factor. Can you show, please, where you can look what impact factor the journal have?
In general, this is more inside the website. In the Scopus database, in general, they put more the site score, citation score, but there is not, I mean, they are interrelated factors, impact factors and site scores, okay? Most of the time, you see the impact factor directly inside the journal. So there will be one not in the first page, but if you scroll down, I mean, this is what makes them to be proud, their impact factor. So they will show at certain moment the percentage that they reach. I mean, and they will put close the data about the set score and the impact factor.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you all.
Alberto, thank you so much for your valuable information and knowledge you shared. We really appreciate.
Thank you, Alimshan.
We got to meet actually to have a cup of tea. Maybe
with my pleasure. After this month that is a bit crazy, full of events, but then yes, we can plan something.
Yeah, sure.
And
there's no more question.
I mean,
We
maybe
will-
I have one
Yeah.
final note,
Yes.
because I was expecting one question. What about ChatGPT? I
That's
mean,
very good.
it's a critical question in my viewpoint. I even wrote an article that you can find some preliminary consideration about how to use ChatGPT in academic research. So what's the point? First, there are some journals that do not allow you to publish with them if you use ChatGPT. Doesn't matter what. So they just reject you immediately. Other journals, on the contrary, allow you to use ChatGPT as long as you acknowledge the use of ChatGPT during your research project. And you should make such acknowledgement or in the section called acknowledgement or in the section of methodology. At first, when ChatGPT was just introduced, also there were some journals that were putting ChatGPT as an author. Now, this practice has basically been banned. ChatGPT is not viewed as an author, but is viewed as a tool. And then there is the final critical point, which is, let's assume that there are some journals, I mean, that we are talking about the journal that admit the use of ChatGPT. Still, there is a key important point. You are going to be responsible for whatever sentence you are writing in your article, including the sentences or information you collected through ChatGPT. Not ChatGPT, because ChatGPT is an artificial intelligence, not a legal person, cannot be responsible for that. But you are as the author of the article. Indeed, be very careful, because sometimes ChatGPT writes quite astonishing, crazy information. And you can find some example on social media and online. I mean, the one came in my mind is when they were asking what is like 2 plus 5, and ChatGPT was answering 7, and then the author of the message saying that, but my wife said that is 8, and she's always right. And then ChatGPT said, oh, I'm sorry, if your wife is always right, maybe I'm wrong and is 8. So be very careful about the information you collect by ChatGPT, because sometimes they might sound valuable, sometimes not, or not so much reasonable. Plus, we have an extra problem, which is the question of citation, in the sense that ChatGPT do not care where actually he's getting the information he's providing to you, to your request. But actually, when you take such information and you put in your article, maybe you're doing a process of plagiarism. So actually, we have such information already provided by other authors. And again, is not ChatGPT responsible for that. You are responsible for that. So personally, I'm more for other tools of artificial intelligence. I will keep ChatGPT. If you want to have some basic information of the topic you don't know, fantastic, use it. For publication, fine, you can try, you can experiment. I mean, everyone try. I don't say don't use it at all. Just be careful. Okay, that's my last consideration.
Thank you.
Alberto,
Thank you.
Alberto, I have one question.
Yeah, please.
You said us right now that our article may be rejected because of the plagiarism check,
Yeah.
because of the ChatGPT gained information. And in the presentation, you told us about Quillbot, like the paraphrasing tool. May we use this Quillbot to paraphrase the information gained from ChatGPT? Like the meaning will be one, but the words used will be different.
I know what do you mean. Yes, of course you can use that tool in order to paraphrase other sentences, but still you're going to miss from where such information was collected. So maybe instead of doing that, and because this you still can fall in a process of plagiarism, because maybe the idea anyway is already provided in literature, but ChatGPT doesn't report you that. And even if you paraphrase, it's anyway the same idea. So it might be that you pass or I don't know whether you will pass or not the anti-plagiarism check control with that, but still you need to risk that the one of the reviewers will tell you that actually you are putting the information that other author says, but without providing proper reference to them. What may be better? Oh, okay. The latest version of ChatGPT provides real reference, by the way. Okay, good to know. Actually, maybe I still use the old one. But what I might recommend you is, for example, you want to paraphrase your own idea, then you can use it. Or, for example, you want to paraphrase ideas of other authors, but still making reference to them, then eventually still Killbot might be considered as a tool, okay? But the final key point is, again, be responsible and be careful when you use this tool, always, okay?
Okay, thank you so much for your answer.
Thank you.
Any other questions? I think like we're done with questions. Alberto.
Thank you very much. Thank you for your attention. And thank you, Alimshan, for inviting me.
Okay.
It was my pleasure.
It's our pleasure to listen to you, to get your knowledge. Thank you so much, Alberto.
Thank you.
Bye. Take care.
Goodbye, everyone. Take care.
Take care.
Thanks so much, Professor. Goodbye.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Thank you
For informing
so
us.
much. Bye.